Day Internet people, we're here today and we're going to have a quick look at the Start Deck 01, the Stardrive deck for the V era. Obviously we're a little way off from seeing what's actually in the trial decks outside of the Alfred early we've seen. So I thought it'd be interesting if we go through and have a look at the Start deck here, and we'll have another video no doubt soon where we look at the Crested deck, if it's worth it. To be honest, I think all the skills are basically pretty much the same across the two decks. There might be one or two cards that are different. So maybe we'll just have a look at this one and then quickly have a really quick look through the Start Deck 2 in this video, now that I've had 2 seconds to think about what I'm saying. This is pretty unscripted, we're just going to have a little look. So obviously this is the free kind of starter deck that you can get by going to certain Bushiroad events. I don't think any of these are out in English yet, but a few of them are out in the wild in Japan, I think, and people have kind of printed them off to start playing some proxy games using the artwork from here on the wiki. So I thought we'd go through, just have a look at each card step by step, see what's in this starter deck, and just see what we can kind of make out of it, really. Obviously this is not a trial deck, it's not going to be as effective as a trial deck, it's not going to have any other skills, and certain cards we know, like Wingal, are actually very different to the cards that will be in the trial deck, whether that's power, shield, or from the skills themselves. But having said that, let's go in first with Stardrive Dragon, and here he is, Stardrive Dragon. So it's a grade 3, it's got the gift marker for force, so when you ride it you will get to place down one of your force markers on one of your circles. And yeah, so he's got the skill on the Vanguard or Rearguard circle. When it attacks a Vanguard, if the number of Rearguards you have is 3 or more, this unit gets plus 3,000 until the end of that battle. So basically it's going to swing for 16k, as long as you've got a decent shield, a decent field, not shield, field. And yeah, so that's your kind of Maiden grade 3 of the set. Pretty solid. I mean, 16k is a decent number to hit, even in the current format, so we'll have to see. But obviously you can boost this up to 26k basically on as soon as you ride him, as long as you put down the force column or the force marker on the Vanguard circle there. So that's one option. Obviously you can put it on any of the circles you want. So that's your main grade 3. There's a backup grade 3, Knight of Aggregation Fimo, or Furno even. Let's see, she's just a plain old vanilla 13k, and she does also have the imaginary gift force ability, which only happens when they are ridden on the Vanguard. You don't get one for putting one onto your rearguard. So it kind of incentivizes the re-riding your Vanguard. It's a bit like how you kind of used to re-ride your Break Ride to get the effect off multiple times back in the Break Ride format. It's going to be quite similar to that, I think. So yeah, you should probably expect that most or all grade 3s going forward will have that icon, whichever one is appropriate to the clan. Then we get into Knight of Silence Gallatin, a very familiar face, still a 10k vanilla, still crit 1. But he has had a slight upgrade in that his shield is now 10,000 instead of 5,000. So obviously that works when guarding from hand and on the intercept. So that makes him a little bit more useful in the new format, where the numbers are a little bit higher. It's a nice intercept. It's going to kind of, you intercept this guy, it negates someone's force token basically. So it's not as bad as it sounds, throwing plus 10s around everywhere, when you take into account things like this. I should also note that the artwork on these cards, the actual units themselves are a finalised artwork, but they've been cut out from the background, and they've got like this generic background. If these cards turn up in the future sets or trial decks, they will have more interesting backgrounds, so that's kind of just for the start deck. Anyway, so we've got Knight of Devotion Belgius, or Belgius. Nice young lady with a shield that's as big as her. She's a 5,000 defense on this one, on the shield, but she does have a nice skill, continuous on the rearguard. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 3,000, so it's a 13k grade 2. So obviously you're paying for that increased power with a lower defense value. which kind of makes sense. I think this is something you're going to see increasingly as as more cards are revealed for the actual set. The more powerful a card is, the lower the shield value might be. Whether that means any cards will be so powerful on grade 1 or 2 that they don't even have a shield value, it remains to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened for the particularly good cards. It would certainly make things interesting in that regard. Okay, so after that we've got Sage of Literary and Military Arts, Jarron. So here he is, he's pulling this kind of magical light beam sword straight out of his book, as you do. Another 5k shield, grade 2, auto rearguard circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard and it's boosted, you can counterblast 1 to give this unit plus 10,000 power until the end of that battle. So that's a nice powerful skill. Obviously it does need the boost, so you do have to make sure you play a rearguard down in the back row behind it, but as long as you do that, you can just counterblast 1 and there's your plus 10k power, which is really nice. Obviously if this guy is sitting on a force token, he's going to be swinging for 30,000 if you counterblast when he's attacking, plus the boost itself, which is probably going to be 7 or 8k. So you're looking at nearly 40k from this column. So yeah, that's the new big numbers for you showing off there. Then we're going to Knight Squire Allen. This is the first of our grade 1 lineup. This is an 8k vanilla, and as you can see, again, it's got 10,000 shield instead of the 5,000 shield. So other than that, it's just a generic plain old 8k. Then we go to Strong Knight Runoria. So she is a quintet wall. No, she's a perfect guard. When I say quintet wall, I'm looking at a shield thinking like an idiot. Anyway, yeah, she's a perfect guard in the start deck of all things, which is pretty amazing. So she's a 7k, not a 6k, so that's probably the biggest change. Other than that, you just discard a card when she's placed and choose a unit that cannot be hit until the end of that battle. That's pretty standard. And obviously the Sentinel ability, meaning you can only have 4 cards with Sentinel in your deck. So nothing really changing apart from her base power. It makes it a little bit more attractive to play one down as a booster, but I don't think you particularly would, even so. That's probably just a token increase just because of the general increase in power. Anyway, now we're on to Radical Knight Anil. So this is a 7k grade 1, 10,000 shield, and when it attacks a Vanguard it gets plus 3,000 power, so it's a grade 1 that swings for 10k and it guards for 10k. So yeah, that's a pretty good one, isn't it? It's only when it attacks a Vanguard, so if it's attacking a rear guard it's just a 7, so you probably wouldn't do that. But if this is like a first turn, you want to try and deal a bit of damage early, then that's a pretty good card to play down to your front row, I think. Maybe get a damage off quickly. And then we're into the final grade 1, which is Wingal. So here he is. Everyone knows Wingal. And the skill in the start deck, specifically, is when it boosts a Vanguard, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until the end of that battle. Now what we do know is that in the trial deck, the Wingal's ability is different. It says when it boosts a unit called Blaster Blade, this unit gets plus 5k. So in that regard, it appears that it can work from behind the Vanguard or from behind a rearguard circle. As long as it's boosting a unit called Blaster Blade, it basically becomes a plus 5 power. And obviously there, it's got the 10,000 shield as well. As a standalone unit, it's just going to be a 7k booster, this particular version. So, you know, solid deck. If you're running a Blaster Blade deck, then Wingal is always going to be a solid choice. The starter from the start deck is Grime, or Grime if you really prefer. Not someone who likes listening to UK house music, but a cute little pup. And it's kind of like your Forerunners of the past, but this one doesn't actually have the Forerunner skill. When you ride upon it, basically to kind of negate the loss of the card, you just draw a card when you ride on it. So it's a pretty good card. I mean, it used to be that some starters would come out the soul and then they could go into the soul to let you draw. This kind of skips that step. So obviously you can't bring it out behind the Vanguard to boost, but the card you draw might be better than anything that this could really do on the rearguard anyway. And obviously it's a 10k shield, so in the event that somehow it came back to your hand, or you ran more than one, I don't know why you would, but in that scenario you've got yourself another 10k shield. Now onto the trigger lineup for this star deck. Now there's no stand triggers, obviously, because they don't seem to exist in the new format. So you've got 8 criticals, 4 draws, and 4 heals. So let's have a look at the first critical. It's Bringer of Good Luck Epona, so a familiar card. No abilities, it's a 5k, adds 10k like all new triggers do, and it's got a 15,000 shield value, so that'll be a really, really useful shield card, no doubt. Not much more to say there. Then we go on to Flogel. Now Flogel is the same, 15k shield, 5,000 power, 10,000 on the crit. So I think she might have a skill when the actual trial deck comes around. Obviously Flogel was a key part of getting your Soul Saver ride up, I think, in your Superior ride, unless I'm misremembering. I never really ran that particular version of the deck, but I suspect that the real Flogel will have a skill. Then we go to the draw trigger, Margal. This is basically the only card that hasn't really changed much at all, apart from the trigger value becoming 10k. The attack power is the same and the defense is the same, although it doesn't have the old skill, because the old Margal could go into Soul to give you unit +3. Maybe that's just one that's... maybe the start deck doesn't go into the Soul, because obviously that's quite an advanced thing for new people to try and learn. You'll probably find that if this turns up in the Royal Paladin trial deck, then it will have the old +3 skill. I'd be surprised if it didn't. And finally, Yggdrasil, Maiden, Elaine, our old heal trigger. Very familiar once again. And you can see that as a heal trigger, this has got 20,000 shield value. So the heal triggers are going to be something that's really great to have in your hand. So you'll kind of want to trigger them on your drive check, rather than on damage checks for the most part, because you want them to come to your hand so you can guard with that nice 20k. Otherwise you're going to be dropping 2 or 3 cards to get the equivalent of this one card on the guard. So yeah, obviously only 4 cards will heal in any given deck as usual, and that's that. So that's what you get in the Stardrive deck. We're just going to have a very quick look through this Crested deck here. So you've got Crested Dragon, and his skill is when he attacks a Vanguard of number of Vanguards averages 3 or more, gets +3k to that battle. Yep, that's about the same. Wyvern Strike, Agaruda, just a generic, yep. I'm pretty sure most or all of these will be exactly the same. So there's a 10k vanilla looking absolutely badass. Dragon Armored Knight. He has a skill if you have a greater Vanguard, it gets +3k, yep. Dragon Knight Nehalem. This is one that is unique. So this is Nehalem used to be a 10k vanilla, and this one is more like a Berserk Dragon on demand. So activated on the rear guard, you can counterblast 2, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and retire it. So it's a lot more powerful than Berserk Dragon was. It's got the ability to basically counterblast on demand rather than when it's placed, and you can choose any of your opponent's rear guards, whereas I think Berserk Dragon was specifically grade 2 or either higher or lower, but I can't remember which. I think it was probably grade 2 or lower. So yeah, that's Dragon Knight Nehalem, and he's a 5k shield and a 9k instead of a 10k. So obviously powerful skill, lower defense value. I think that's the biggest difference throughout this set. So let's have a look. You've got Embodiment of Armor Bar, yeah, generic, 10k, and 10k shield, 8k value. Guard Griffin is your Sentinel for the set. He used to be a promo, or I think he got reprinted in the Kagero Extra Booster back in the day. Can't remember what he was. I think he might have been just in the Special Interceptor. Then we've got Dragon Knight Burj. So this guy gets +3k when he attacks a Vanguard. And then you've got Dragon Monk Gojo. And this one, when it boosts, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, the boosted unit gets +3k until the end of turn. That's kind of like instant of Wingal for this deck. The starter is Lizard Runner Undeux, who is basically exactly the same as Griffin. And then you've got your 8 crits, 4 draws, and 4 heals. So the heal, Dragon Monk Genjo, again 20,000 shield. Embodiment of Spare Tar, 15k shield, generic. Demonic Dragon Mage Rakshasa, she's a 15k shield, or he's a 15k shield. I've never worked that one out, but yeah, the original version of this from the old trial deck also had a skill. I think it was like when something's retired, it gained plus 3k, something along those lines. Obviously, this one in this particular deck doesn't have such a skill. There's no combos particularly in this deck. And the last card was Red Gem Carbuncle, so that's the 5k shield, 5k attack, 10k trigger, draw trigger. So yeah, that's the Crested deck. So you can see it's pretty much the same thing, and there's not really much else left to say. You do get apparently a first guide and a skill-less version of Blaster Blade with these sets as well. So that's pretty interesting. Oh, and of course you get 3 Force gift markers with the deck as well. So you get everything you need to play, but don't expect it to hold up even to one of the new trial decks, because the new trial decks are pretty, well, as far as we understand, they're pretty beefy, because they've got the 4 perfect guards and the 4 of the boss card of the set as well. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of how those are. And if you'd like us to do more videos like this about upcoming products or new releases, let us know. We can go through and we can analyse new sets and take a look at what's interesting. And post down below if you think that would be interesting to watch. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this quick little video, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye, Internet people.